are we are live, my man Sam. All right, so let's just get right into it.
All
What did you
right.
see in this fight, man? And did you see anything that maybe other people did not see from this Canelo Charlo fight?
Um, Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I knew that Canelo was gonna dominate, but I didn't know it was gonna be a landslide. Just the
Right.
power of Canelo was just way too
Mhm.
much, man. It was just he dominated from the get go. The way Canelo was stalking him, bro,
Yeah.
like the stalking that he did,
Right.
dude. He it's like Canelo knew, bro. He knew this. There's no way this guy is stronger than me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
say this, dude. I'll say this. From the beginning of the fight, Charlo, even when he walked out in the entrance, he looked like he did not want to be there. I did not like his body language at all. And it was strange because on the way in the day before, I actually thought Charlo was like, all right, he's coming out of his little cage there a little bit. And here we are, just like no body language at all. I don't know if he was trying to be too cool for school or what, but dude, I did not like it at all. Go ahead.
Yeah, you could tell the way he would get it when he got in the ring. You saw the vibe, bro. He gave off an energy like, damn, I'm about to embarrass myself in front of everybody.
Hmm.
And every time he got up, every round, that ended, and then it started, dude. He just like he didn't want to be there, man. Like he did not want to be there. You know what I mean?
I I agree with you, bro. I'll say this, dude. Uh, he didn't look in shape.
Oh,
Like
sorry about that. Oh.
I'm used to Charlo being cut up. Now I know he gained 14 pounds for this fight, but
Mm-hmm.
dude, I just didn't see how. Like I didn't see any definition in his body, bro. Did you notice that also?
Yeah. I noticed that too. He wasn't cut up the way Canelo was, bro.
Yeah.
And some guy had said you could see the abs. You could
Mhm.
see the sorry about that. You could see the abs in
Yeah.
Canelo. You could tell that Canelo had more suffering in training than Charlo did.
Hmm.
He
No,
goes,
no, no,
when
no. Go
you
ahead.
see the cut up, the abs and the shoulders, everybody was talking about his back. Everybody's like, dude, do you see the back muscles of Canelo?
Yeah.
Like, and I do believe what Canelo said. This version of me, nobody could beat.
And you know what's so funny? You know, we've seen boxers jump up and down. We saw it with Roy Jones go up to
Mm-hmm.
heavyweight. We saw it with Hitman Hearns go all the way to cruiserweight, and Hagler. You know, we've seen maybe not Hagler so much, but we've seen great boxers challenge themselves by
Yeah.
moving on up. I get it now. I get it, and I'm embarrassed to say that it took this fight for me to realize that when you go up two classes, it's just a different. You know what this fight reminded me of, and this might be a bad example. This reminded me of when Chavez Jr. fought. I think it was for Fortuna. I don't remember his
Yeah,
name,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but he goes up to light heavyweight, if I'm not mistaken. He goes up two classes as well, and that's when Chavez Jr. was. I remember I liked him more than Canelo, and he just went up to that weight class and was never the same again. And you just saw a complete schooling, and you were always wondering when you saw that Chavez Jr. fight, like he's not fighting the way he normally does. Why not? And the same thing here with Charlo, man. I just saw completely different guy, completely different vibe. I don't know if it was the size was the difference, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. I think it was all the fights that Canelo had at 168 and 175 that made his body just, he was a tank, bro. He was just a tank in there. I mean, the whole fight, Canelo chased him, bro. And I think Charlo landed a few shots. Like the first round, I had it 10-10. The only
Right.
reason I had it 10-10 was because they both landed a punch. And then I
Right.
think there
Yeah.
was a round, was it round 5 or 6? That it was a round that you gave Charlo.
Yeah, I gave round 5 to Charlo. But that could have been, honestly, that was a swing round. I
Yeah,
could
it
see
was a
where
swing
somebody
round.
gave it to Canelo.
The
Um,
reason I gave the Canelo that round
mhm.
was because yes, Charlo threw some punches, but all those punches that he threw
Yeah.
do not equal the 3, 4, 5 punches that Canelo threw. I mean,
Oh man.
people were just talking about how you could hear Canelo's punches, man. People were like, dude, do you hear Canelo's punches?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I noticed
damn.
too. Yeah. Let's see here real quickly. I'm looking. Let me see. Something else that stuck out to me in this fight, bro.
Mm,
In comparison, I think I want to go back to what you're saying. Look, when Canelo, um, I think what we've seen with Bivol and maybe even Triple G, the third fight, because there are some people that think Triple G came on late in that fight. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. But here's the interesting part, my man. Canelo's been active since before COVID, fighting 2 to 3 times. Remember, a lot of boxers didn't fight during COVID, and he kept on fighting, and he was going up and down from 160 to 168 to 175, back to 168, back to 175. Now, when I see this Charlo, how the way he went up from 154 to 168 this one time, and how exhausting it was for him to even take on this fight against Canelo, makes me even appreciate Canelo even more. That maybe the fight that we saw with Bivol, yeah, I know his hand was fractured if I'm not mistaken. Um, but dude, that's a lot of mileage and up and down, up and down. Is it excuses? Maybe not, but that's just a lot that man that Canelo was going through, and maybe we were more convinced of him being what's the word I'm looking for? It sucks that we're going live, so whatever
no, it's
mistake.
all right. But we can talk about whatever.
But here's the thing. What I'm trying to say is that him going up like that and coming down, people were saying, did Canelo slow down? And I honestly think that constant yo-yo dieting back and forth and the constant fighting, always fighting, I think he was just not only hurt, but tired. And now that we see Canelo come back to his natural weight at 168, and he looked the best I've seen him physically
I
since
said it.
Triple G, yeah, since Triple G Part 2. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you're saying. I think it's the activity, bro.
Right,
That
right.
Canelo was just active. If
Hmm.
I'm not mistaken, Jermel hadn't fought in almost 2 years or
Yeah,
something like that, and it it's it was the activity. Canelo stayed hot, and Charlo was cold. That's what it was. Charlo was cold. That's
yeah,
what it
bro.
was, bro. And
Yeah,
it's
man.
and it's the activity.
I
Exactly what you're
agree.
saying. He
Uh,
was cold.
I'll say this. By the way, we got a few viewers on. Go ahead and leave some comments about the fight or any topic you guys want to talk about. You guys are familiar with our channel. But yes, I agree with you. Charlo looked like a fish out of water. I mean, he only landed, what was it, 17, 18% of his punches, bro? Like, that is, it just shows you that jumping up weight classes like that. I mean, I understand jumping up one weight class. I think that is obviously more manageable. But jumping up two, that just goes to show you that it doesn't really matter because I honestly think it could have been against Caleb Plant. It could have been against even Saunders if he ever gets healed up. I think the fight would have looked the same if he fought Charlo as well. Like if Charlo would have fought those guys, those second tier champions that Canelo took the belt from, I honestly think that it would have been the same fight. And maybe even Saunders or Caleb Plant or drawing a blank here. I think maybe they could have even had a better fight against Charlo going into this matchup. I mean, in terms of like knocking out, maybe. But dude, it we need to recognize the difficulty it takes to jump up more than one class, especially without a tune-up fight.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. I think that that Charlo went in cold. I think that he was scared. I
Yeah.
think Charlo was scared to
Hmm.
engage with Canelo. He didn't
Right.
want to. He feared the power, and
Hmm.
he showed way too much respect, man.
Right.
He respected Canelo way too much, and I think that we didn't see all of Charlo's skills.
Right.
We didn't see his skills. We
Hmm.
didn't see all his skills. I think that the reason we didn't see all his skills was because he was cold. He was
Yeah.
scared. He was
Yeah.
afraid of that punch. He didn't want to get KO'd, man. And I mean, I'd rather see Charlo, you know, let it all go, man. And if you get knocked out, you get knocked out, but let it all go. And I
I
think he would have had a better shot, in my opinion.
I think there's a difference, my man. I think at 160, maybe he could have done that, just let it all go. But at 168 against a thumper like Canelo, look, you and I have talked about this for years, even before this podcast even started. Canelo doesn't train like normal boxers do. Like Ryan Garcia, like Devin Haney, they tend to do a lot of speed bag, a lot of cobra bag, a lot of more speed workouts, right? A lot of jump rope, that kind of thing. Canelo, when he trains, he does the body bag all day long. If I'm not mistaken, I think he starts I think his warm up is the cobra bag, but he spends the entire time, even in his sparring sessions, he just does thumping body work the entire time. I am surprised that he hasn't broken his hands even more than he just had as of the past year and a half, 2 years, because that's all he does. I mean, maybe he's not giving us in his training videos more than what we want to see, but you could tell in his fighting style that's his training. Like there's no camouflage. He's been fighting like this already for since he got into the 160. I would even say 154 range. He's just a straight up body thumper. He's not going to move from it. Bivol took advantage of it, but now that I've seen how the way uh, Charlo has responded, going up 2 weight classes, I just think Canelo, when he took on Bivol, I think it was the same scenario. It was just a different weight class, different style, and I think it was just a different weight that was
Yeah.
pushing Canelo around going into what we know him today. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Did you see the difference between this fight and Bivol? Canelo's back never touched the ropes. Never touched the ropes.
Not
Go
only
ahead.
that, not to cut you off, I apologize. Not only that, but what I recognize as well, dude, like the way we started this episode, Charlo wasn't cut up. When Canelo moved up to Bivol, he didn't look as in shape as he normally does at 168 or when he would go down to fight Triple G. And that's telling me something. And but look, let's pivot a little bit. We're giving Canelo a lot of praise because of course he deserves it. He won easily. I had him 119, 108. What did you like about Charlo considering the lopsided fight going into that fight? What did you like?
That when he would let his hands go, he was faster.
Mhm.
That when he would let his hands go, he had speed on him. I just think that he just went into fear. It's hard to pick out, it's hard to say what I liked about Charlo in that fight when he was scared the whole entire fight. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to
And
pick pieces.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And whenever he would throw like a flurry or try to move around, The problem with Charlo was trying to do, he was trying to move around the ring, but Canelo was cutting him off, man. Canelo was cutting him off, and I think that Charlo needed to be more offensive. He needed to throw more punches and get out of that trap. You know what I'm saying? Instead, he was anticipating the punch, and he would just get blocked into the trap that Canelo was putting him in.
Let me preface this a little bit. What I noticed as well is, I told you this too. I honestly thought that Charlo was going to go on his knee multiple times going into this fight, kind of like Garcia versus Tank. And he did. I was actually impressed that he took a lot of these body punches that Canelo was giving him. I've never seen Charlo get hit like the way he got hit today in his entire career. Yes, he's been down before, but I've never seen him get hit in the body as well as Canelo did. And I'm very impressed with how he took that. I know he went down on the knee one time, and Canelo was able to punch through his guard easily, but I think he could take that back to 154 as a huge advantage. What do you think? What do you think of that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, dude, look, this is an experience for Charlo.
Right.
This was a boxing lesson, that he's gonna take with him. Bro, he's not gonna fear anybody anymore. Think about that. Think about that. He ain't gonna be scared of nobody after this.
Right.
When Charlo goes back down to 154, he's not gonna be afraid of. What is he? He's 154, right? Charlo. Yeah, I think that he shouldn't take this loss to heart.
Right.
I mean, he's still young and he still has a few years in him. And dude, he's gonna go into his next opponent without any fear. And yes, I do give him credit for taking 12 rounds of body shots.
So here's the other thing. Like, yeah, man, he's pissing blood right now for sure. But look, I want to ask you this. A lot of boxers, when they jump up a tremendous amount of weight, even win or lose, they tend to come back down different. We saw that with Chavez Jr. when he fought Fonfura. I think that was actually his name. He wasn't the same after that.
Mm-hmm.
When he fought, when Roy Jones went to heavyweight, even though he won and he tried to come back down, that fight was almost literally the line where Roy Jones, after he got that heavyweight title and he drained himself back to light heavyweight, was literally never the same again. Can you see something like that happening with Jermell Charlo? Or do you think it wasn't that bad of a beating and he can actually improve himself? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think he can improve himself. I don't think that I don't think it was an Errol Spence, Bud Crawford type of beating. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
I think that that Charlo protected himself way better, man, by moving around the ring. I honestly, just my opinion, I think that Charlo can go back down and dominate, bro. He can dominate.
Okay, and now you actually reminded me of something. I'm glad, because I didn't have it written down on my notes, and I'm glad that you reminded me. You've been a big critic of Derrick James. Now, his last two fights have not been good at all. Completely lopsided fights. Is he going to lose a lot of clientele, like from losing big title matches, or is it going to be more or less the same? What did you see from Derrick James? What do you think the forecast is on Derrick James's future after this fight?
What Derrick James told him in the 10th round, like, hey, you're losing this fight. You got to let the punches go. I think that should have been done maybe in round 7. You know what I'm saying? After the knockdown, I think I would have told Charlo, you got to start throwing punches, because he was gun shy. And I would have told him, don't be respecting Canelo too much. You can beat him. You can beat him. You're faster than him. You got longer reach than him. I think that that it was the same thing with Spence, where Spence never adapted. He never adapted. He never adjusted to what Bud was giving him. I mean, Spence went in there one-dimensional.
Right.
And Charlo, but he took a beating. That beating is a beating that I don't think anybody will ever be the same from. But that's another story for another show. But anyways, in this fight, I think that Charlo conducted himself way better than Spence did,
Right.
And he avoided a lot of abuse. Yes, he took a lot of body shots, but he moved around a lot. You know, he moved around. He guarded himself a lot. He didn't stand in front of Canelo and get beaten. But I do believe that Charlo should have taken some chances, just to, just. I mean, it was a landslide, bro.
Right.
He was
Right.
losing every single round.
I mean, I only had Charlo winning one of those rounds. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that it was just a little too late. Derek James went from being the trainer of the year to losing that, title, bro.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. I'm not gonna go as far as saying he has to change his trainer,
Right.
but they gotta question it, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ryan Garcia just joined their camp, and if I was Ryan Garcia, because he's been on both, he's been on Canelo's camp, Reynoso,
Yeah.
and now Derek James, and I think he is seeing now the difference between the two. Because let's face it, the last time Garcia won was with Reynoso. After
Oh
that, I
wow,
mean,
wow.
right? If am I saying that right? I
Yeah, you're
mean,
right. You're right. You're right.
I could be off on that. We're going live, so I don't have the stats here in
Yeah,
front of me.
you're right. You're right. That's
Because
when
yeah,
who
he got
trained
knocked
him?
out.
Who? Yeah, he was with. That's when he fought Tank, and that's when he fought that other guy Smith. He was with
Right,
Reynoso in both
right,
of those fights. Yeah, go ahead.
right. So anyhow, I agree with you, man. I think Derek James missed an opportunity, and I mean, look, as somebody that respects trainers tremendously, Derek James has just had a bad year, and I think honestly that other boxers are going to see uh, kind of like that flaw. And I could see where now they're going to go shift to maybe go join maybe uh, Mayweather's camp, or maybe even jump onto Freddie Roach, or even uh, Reynosa's camp, or Reynoso camp. I'm sorry. So I don't know, man. I just think Derek James missed an opportunity again with Jermell Charlo, and he knew that. I think Jermell Charlo saw that he was getting outclassed. I think Derek James saw that he was getting outclassed, and he should have made that adjustment. And I don't know, man. It was a fight that should have ended earlier, but I think Canelo wanted to show everybody that I'm not out of shape. I'm just getting better. And he wanted to give a boxing lesson, a brawling, not so much a brawling boxing lesson, but like how a Mack truck can give you a boxing lesson. Go ahead.
Do you think that Charlo's approach to the press conferences should have been more aggressive to create more of a hate and disrespect?
I honestly think that Charlo fought his hero. You
Mhm.
know, is it his brother? Is it Mayweather? Uh, yes, those are his heroes. But I honestly think he's had it on his wall to fight Canelo for what they already said. What, over 10 years? Charlo's been calling out Canelo, right?
Yeah.
I think Charlo finally got the fight that he probably never thought he would, because Canelo was kept on going higher in weight class and higher and higher and higher. That I honestly think that when Charlo got the deal, when the older brother had to back out of the fight and the younger brother stepped in, I think he was starstruck. You saw it in the when they first signed the contract, their
Yeah.
first meetup a few months earlier, and then you saw it on the weigh-in and or the fight week. He was just too respectful to me, and that's not the Charlo I know. The Charlo I know is robust. The
Yeah.
Charlo I know doesn't care. And when you see him from that moment to his entrance into the ring and throughout the fight, he was just like a fish out of water. Like it looked like the stage was just too big for him. He had never fought in a stage that big. I think it was a combination of him fighting his hero, and I think it was a combination of the lights just being too bright. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah,
What do you
I
think?
agree. Yeah, yeah. He was like, he was in there fighting his dad, basically. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. He just respected him way too much. He was
Right,
over.
right.
He was overwhelmed by the crowd, the big
Yeah,
lights, the big stage, and dude, when he saw the skill that Canelo, when Canelo started going in there, going to hunt, when he saw he was getting jabbed, the body shots, he
right,
realized, holy shit, Canelo is on a different level. And
right.
that's what people were saying that, dude, you could see that that Canelo just on a way different, a level than Charlo is. And
It's true, man.
Charlo knew it, man. And yeah,
Right.
I think the stage was way too big. I think the respect was way too much. There was and it was a money grab, in my opinion. I'll go that far. I'll go
Right.
that far. He needed the money. He was in there to do a job, and that was it. His focus is to get paid and not to shock the world.
So let's pivot a little bit. By the way, guys, those that are watching, go ahead and leave a comment if you guys can about the fight, any topics you want us to talk about. Look, so let's move the conversation a little bit. What is next for Canelo?
I think Canelo. What's next for Canelo? Would it be
Be-
David Benavides?
Well, hold on. The reason why I asked, obviously, we got to ask that question, but the reason why I asked is because for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, everybody's been saying Canelo hasn't looked the same. And to me, I think it was tread on his tires. I think he was definitely injured because the way he trains and the way he fights, very violent. And I think he took a little bit of a rest. He healed up a little bit after the Ryder fight, and I think he's a new guy. I think he's re-energized. I mean, look, he's on a three bout winning streak. You know what I'm saying? Like that's nothing to sneeze at. And I think he is getting this. I think he has this new energy, and I think we're gonna get a different Canelo. We're gonna get a resurrection of what he was before. So to answer your question, it's a 3 deal PBC fight. I think he's saving Benavides for last. He's going to want to build up that purse a little bit more. Let Benavides fight,
Andrade, I think.
yeah, Boo Boo, and he takes on the winner. And I think Canelo's going to take another break. I don't think he's going to fight in January like he normally does, or March or February. Or December, sorry. And I think he's going to wait, heal up a little bit more, get more inspired. I feel a new energy from him, and I can see where he's just going to do what Mayweather did: push off the fights as much as you can to where the purse keeps getting higher and higher. Because if Benavides knocks out Boo Boo, and then Charlo, say Canelo fights Charlo's other brother,
I
or
don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that either,
Yeah.
but or anybody else, the
Uh,
purse is
mhm.
getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're gonna get the Benavides fight, but I think he's taking the blueprint from Mayweather, and he's just gonna push it off as much as possible until that purse gets to 200 million, if if possible. So yeah, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I don't, and let's remember this because everybody was hyping it up on social media when it was first signed and when it was first talked about. He fought the better Charlo. Do
Right.
y'all really want to see Canelo fight a Charlo that hasn't fought in years? That hasn't had, I mean, that's had some addictions and is going through some, mental things right now.
Right.
Dude, come on. No, that is it. He's gonna have to move on. What do you think about a catch weight, maybe, I don't know, 172 or something against a rematch with Bivol?
Well, they're saying that Charlo was the same height and speed as Bivol.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, Bivol is naturally 175, 172. He can get there, I believe. If we get this Canelo, it's a different fight. I honestly think Canelo had tread on the tires, and I think he needed a break. I think he was definitely injured. Am I caping for Canelo? Maybe, but it only makes sense because he's the only one fighting when nobody else was, and he continues to be on the same schedule. I could see Bivol being the next fight. Well, let me ask you this. Not that did not finish answering the question. But you rather, because we got the Canelo we haven't seen for about 3 or 4 years.
Whoa, man, yeah.
Would you rather see Bivol before Benavides, knowing what is at risk? Because if he loses that fight again to Bivol, that money purse to fight Benavides is going to go down, man. So does Canelo risk it for the biscuit? That's what I'm saying?
No, you're right, man. You're right. Yeah,
And
yeah. He can't do that. It's too much of a risk.
too
It's too much.
much.
Yeah, it's too much of a risk. So, is it okay for Canelo to fight a contender?
Well, look, Canelo and Charlo. I'll give credit to Charlo too. Look, we're in a generation now where nobody wants a tune-up fight or mandatory fight anymore. And that used to be so customary, like not even 10 years ago. It was customary. Hey, I'm going to move up a class or two. Maybe it's smart if I test the waters a little bit and fight a contender instead of an undisputed champion or a champion. I mean, to go up one class is difficult enough
I
and not
know.
even take up a tune-up fight. To go up two is unbelievable. That's why I give Charlo a tremendous amount of kudos or props. Okay. Dude, Canelo's at that point, and unfortunately, with social media today, with what you like to call the casuals, they are not. They don't support. They don't understand the importance of the tune-up fight. So Canelo, for his reputation's sake, he cannot do it, dude. He already gets hate for mandatories, and I'm like, dude, they're called mandatories for a reason. Canelo cannot avoid the mandatories because then he'll lose that belt. So of course he has to fight, uh, Ryder and these other guys.
What about Chris Eubank Jr.? He called out Canelo.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one. Look, I'll say this: I didn't want Canelo fighting Charlo because what does Canelo get from it? You and I had an episode, the big problem with Canelo versus Charlo. That's the problem. Canelo, he has tremendous amount of love and haters, and the haters, no matter what, like I told you the other day privately on the phone, Canelo can knock out the next five boxers. He can knock out Benavides, Bivol. He can knock out Better Beat It. He can knock out Triple G, all in the first round, and everybody will be saying that they just won't give him the credit.
Yeah, yeah. It's an excuse.
It's
Yeah.
an excuse, right? So, I guess to answer your question, I don't know, man. I think he cannot. He just can't do the tune-up fight, man. He has to go to champion, whether he's ready for it and not or not. And those
So,
glory. Yeah, go ahead.
so who's next?
I think, man. You know what throws a wrench in the whole thing is the Bubu Andrade versus Benavides fight.
If they would cancel that fight and give Boo Boo next to Canelo, then Canelo gets Benavides after that. That's the only thing that would make sense.
I mean, maybe Caleb Plant, because a lot of people said Caleb Plant was winning that fight until the knockout, which I didn't
Yeah,
believe.
but he got knocked out, didn't he? He got knocked out
Yeah,
by
yeah, he
by
got knocked out,
by
but
Benavides.
a lot of people said, including the number one Canelo hater, Atlas, saying that Plant won that fight, except he just got caught. Maybe some people will want to see that fight. And now that, Plant has been on the news, pimp slapping Jamal Charlo, not Jamel, I mean, Plant is pretty hot right now. He's a fighter that people like to watch, apparently. So what do you think is next for
Look,
What would you do if you're who do you fight next if you're Canelo? What do you do?
if I'm look honestly, look, it's not gonna be Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant just lost to Benavides.
Right.
If I was Canelo, oh man, I would go ahead and do the Benavides fight, and then I mean I don't know who do you win the two more fight deal. I mean who's do the Biv? Yes, do Benavides then do Bivol. Let's go.
I mean, look, there's also David Morrell. There's the what's his name? The French dude, the Mabili, the guy that's what 19-0 or 23-0 or something like that. I mean,
People ain't gonna want to watch that crap.
there's Munguia, but
Yeah.
Canelo doesn't want to fight countrymen. I mean, a lot of cultures are like that. They don't want to fight their own countrymen, and I think Canelo is one of those guys. But I think Canelo, he's listening to the media, and he's like, you know what? If I want to cement, obviously Canelo has to do more to cement his legacy.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
cannot take the route that other boxers did, to where they could take tune-up fights and people just look at it like no big deal. He has to continuously fight champions, unfortunately or fortunately. It's
Yeah.
boxing. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. Do you have any final words about this fight, man?
I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't think it was going to be a huge landslide. I thought there would have been a couple of more rounds that Charlo would win and use his agility, his speed, his reach. But he just showed way too much respect to Canelo. The way he would look when he would get off the stool to start the next round, his facial expressions said it all, bro.
100%,
Yeah, we were just
bro.
like he did not want to be there. And oh well, on to the next for hopefully Charlo. But I'll tell you one thing, I think Charlo can dominate. He ain't gonna be scared of anybody else anymore. He ain't gonna be afraid of anybody.
Okay, well, this is probably gonna go on another 10 minutes, but do you think Charlo should take on Crawford?
Yeah, I see why not, man.
Yeah,
I think that Charlo should go get his titles because they took him away, and I think that Tim Tszyu has him. Go fight Tszyu. Go fight him. After you fight him, then go ahead and fight Crawford. That's what's left for Charlo, man.
Wow. One last thing, and we'll sign off. Does Crawford look at this fight and realize that maybe it's too much of a big leap to go to Canelo?
I think that it'll never happen, in my opinion. I just don't see it ever happening. I think he saw this fight and realizes that there's just too much power.
Too much.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's too much power. There's the weight classes for a reason. The only way I could see Bud probably getting more fire to fighting Canelo if Bud fights Jermell
And wipes him out
and smokes him. Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll leave it at that. Phenomenal way to end the episode. To all you guys watching live, we appreciate it. Go ahead and go onto our channel, subscribe to the Stick and Move podcast. Sam and I, we always try to reply to you guys as comments, as many as possible, and we love it all. So go ahead, go on there, give us some ideas on episodes, top 3s, top 5s, whatever topic y'all want us to do. We will scratch all of them off our list and do as many as possible. So Sam, you got any final words for our people?
Man. Thank you for the comments, the likes, subscribe and share the channel, guys.
All right, guys. And like I always say, don't forget to stick and move, baby.